Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, we want to welcome you to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today, with us, Angel Ribo, CEO, consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation, is going to be interviewing Dr. Anne Kelty. She is a licensed naturopathic doctor, licensed massage therapist, and Qigong instructor. Super interesting is the fact that she has studied with Native American spiritual teachers for over 25 years. Today, she is going to be sharing with us how and why old medicine always is what is working right now to this new society. But before starting with you, we want to remind you that Mindalia is a non-profit organization. Our mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us. Subscribing to our channel if you haven't done it yet, leaving us a positive comment on this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we're going to be talking here today. Also, while we are live streaming, like right now, we have the active chat is the screen that you're going to be seeing here. We invite you to interact, to get in contact with us. We ask you to please follow the format, word question in caps, and the actual question that you have. Last but not least, Mindalia is live streaming from Monday through Friday in Portuguese in Mindalia Televisão, in English in Mindalia TV English, as you already know, and in Mindalia Televisión in Spanish. We want to invite you to visit our different channels, to subscribe to our channels, to follow our pages and our Instagram account. We want you to know what is the content that we're developing there on a daily basis in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. We also want to invite you to participate with us, sharing your own content, your own valuable knowledge. And for that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to be finding a link that says Collaborate with Mindalia. That link is going to take you to a form that you can fill out. Our technical team will be in contact with you, and it could be you, just like Dr. Anne Kelty is today, sharing valuable wisdom through the different platforms of Mindalia TV in English, Portuguese, or Spanish. We want to see you there. I'm not going to delay this any further. I'm going to leave you with Angel and Dr. Anne. Guys, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Mirna, for the introduction, and welcome everybody to Mindalia TV, and especially welcome Dr. Anne. Anne, how are you today?
Oh, thank you, Angel. Thank you, Mirna. I am wonderful. It's a beautiful season. New England is like the best in autumn. The colors and the spirit of the world is right, just perfect today.
Excellent. We love that. We definitely love that. Love nature and love how much we are integrated with it. And I guess this is one of the reasons why you have been always so into healing and medicine. I think that nature plays a key role in our health. Would you be in agreement with that statement, Anne?
Oh, well, yes, of course. We are one with nature. We cannot separate ourselves from nature, whether we're at the coast or the mountains. We are part of nature. We are from the earth. So how can we separate ourselves?
So how did you start your journey? Why did you decide early on in your life to become someone concerned about everybody else's health?
Oh, well, I had a special friend when I was finishing up my studies in undergraduate. I thought I wanted to be a designer and builder of robots. And then when I was graduating, I met this gentleman. He's a Native American medicine man, and he took me under wing. And I had no idea what that meant at the time. And I started seeing and experiencing things. And he started opening me up to different types of knowledge, including healing and shamanic ways, looking at the earth and the moon. And then I was guided to go to naturopathic medical school in Portland, Oregon, where I met a lovely young lady who's Apache medicine woman. And we still are so in touch today. And I learned from her more medicine in the spirit, in the native traditions, but also that's where I started learning about the beautiful form of healthcare called naturopathic medicine.
Is traditional medicine very far away from this, like how to call it, naturopathic, or maybe what the natives taught you? How far are one from the other, according to your experience, Anne?
What are you talking about as traditional medicine?
Yeah, so let's say I mean, we live in an environment in which we typically, when we get sick, we go to the doctor, right? We go to the allopathic, I think it's the right way to call it.
Exactly.
We go to allopathic medicine. So I would say most of us, we go to allopathic doctors, and our kids, our families, our relatives, our friends. And are those two worlds, like the naturopathic and the allopathic, very far away from each other?
We have the same core principles, and I think we approach it in very different ways. Our education is very similar at the first 2 years. What we as naturopathic doctors, what we're taught to do is to look at the whole body as a system. So, for instance, if you have a sore shoulder, it may be related to the ankle that you sprained or broke 6 months ago, because your body has to readjust and compensate in that way. So when you're injuring one part of your body, I'm actually looking at all different parts of the body in order to find out where the root cause is. I mean, this goes for any symptom, whether it's digestive system or even mental emotional. We need to find out what the root is so that we can help you to heal through that and find that you can get stronger and heal more completely.
And why is there, so, trying to have Mindalia TV's audience to understand that people who are maybe not as familiar as we can be, or we might be on this, why is there a relationship between different parts of your body when there's actually one side which is painful, but why the entire body is actually a system? Why is that?
Well, there are so many different ways to answer this question, but say that you injure your right ankle. What happens after that is your left knee starts to get sore because you're compensating and walking on it in a different way. And then what happens is your right hip will start to ache, and then your left shoulder. So it's a crossword pattern for your body to compensate because it's not on steady ground. Like the Tower of Pisa, it started to sink. In another way, I was at this was so fun. I was asked to speak at a gastrointestinal seminar, and I was the only naturopathic physician speaking that day. And of course, there were lots of medical doctors. And what I put up on the screen was the different systems of the body. You have the digestive system, you have the neurological system, you have the cardiac system, you have your lungs, your respiratory, your kidneys, your liver. How are you going to delineate each one of them? You cannot say that the liver is separate from the digestive system. What happens is that when you take something into the body and you digest it, it goes to every part of the body. You cannot have health and well-being. You cannot have blood. You cannot have liver. You cannot have your cells and your muscles and your nervous system and your tendons unless you're having some digestive, some food, some digestion, some nutrition to come in and take care of that. The converse, too, is that when we eat things that are tainted, like we're finding that a lot of our food is not as pure as we would like it to be at this point. These chemicals and toxins are getting stuck in the different parts of the body. So the liver. And so when the liver gets congested and injured, you may find out that you'll have tendon problems. In Chinese medicine, part of our studies in naturopathy is Chinese medicine. So we relate different parts of the body to different organ systems, relate to different levels of the body, but also different emotions. And so the liver, if you injure the liver in some way with too much toxins, then your tendons are going to start to be affected. And the emotion that goes along with the liver is also anger. So what happens to people when they get angry is they form a fist. And that's the tendons getting tight, and you don't realize that. So once we start working with the liver to release some of the toxins, release the, detox that, help the hormones, help the toxins get out, and then you find that the tendons start to loosen up, and the emotion, the anger starts to lift as well.
Wow, this system is fascinating. I was thinking of the relationship between those different parts of this system. Are those like physical relationships? Are those chemical relationships? Are those energetic relationships? Is that all of those? How do you see those parts of the system?
Well, and the short answer is yes.
Okay, so there's all those different kinds of relationships between these different parts of the system, which is a human body.
Yes.
Why did a person that you said that you were finishing your undergraduate degree and you met that person, that Native American?
Yes. His name is Steve. Yeah.
His name is Steve. Okay, so what was that thing that impressed you so much at that point in time in your life?
Oh. When I met Steve, he spoke to me in a way that spoke to my heart and my spirit and my soul. I didn't know that at the time. I just knew that we had a certain connection. And well, actually, it's so funny. It just popped in. The gentleman I was seeing at the time asked me to pick Steve up at work. And Steve used to work till 2 a.m. and didn't have his license, so he couldn't get home. So he asked me to give him a ride home. So I picked Steve up at the airport where he worked. And I was on my way to give him a ride home. And the first thing he said to me was, "What are the spirits doing to you?" And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, is that what's been going on?" Because my life had been just so crazy with things happening that I could not physically or emotionally understand. And then we sat down and had coffee that evening, and he said that I had a gift, and I had to make a choice, either to open up to this gift and these in this way, or shut it down for my lifetime. And right next to us, it was so funny. You know how things happen, serendipitous, and we're sitting right next to these two women, and one of them was talking about mediumship and spirit ways, and I just looked at him like, really? And so when he gave me the choice, it felt like it was a choice, but it wasn't a choice. In many ways in our lives, we reach points where you have a choice, but the choice has already been made. God gives us the freedom of free will, and so you have to have that choice in order to make the choice. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
What a beautiful story. Before we continue, I just wanted to tell you something. I think there's this beautiful necklace that you are wearing. Some stones are hitting the microphone. It's a very, so we can hear a noise. So yeah, if you can separate it a little bit from thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Please. Thank you. No, awesome. So did you eventually discover what that gift that he was referring to was?
Yes, and I still continue to learn about these gifts. I've learned over years to follow God, my guidance, and Jesus is a mentor for me as well, and I follow the voice that I hear in that way. It has brought me to many sacred ceremonies and many sacred places. Unbeknownst to me, my spirit knew where I was going before I did. I've ended up at a Sundance, which was back in the 90s, and it's a very sacred, private ceremony that I ended up at the day it started. I had no idea I was going. The leaders didn't know I was going, but the gentleman who did run it knew I was coming because I had seen him in a vision years before and didn't know what it was about. So I continued to follow my spirit and my heart, which also led me down to Mexico, where a lot of when I met Steve is around the same time that I went to Mexico to start to study Spanish. And I had a lot of spiritual awakenings there as well. It was just truly amazing.
What would you say those, because you've mentioned the word secret and sacred, what would you say those different experiences brought to your life, Anne?
The sacredness of the ceremonies and the teachings have brought me to, be patient and to understand.
Say it again.
Patience.
Patience.
Patience. And also innocence, vulnerability. And to be able to sit in the fire and listen to others in different ways. Being sacred means that to me, it means that it's knowledge and wisdom that has been brought to us humans from the universe, from the earth, from the depths of the earth, from our hearts, our souls, and our spirits. And it's the way that we listen, it's the way that we speak, it's the way that we walk in the world in order to respect and acknowledge the gifts that are around us so that we can do our work. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. And what would you say is one of the most important teachings that, in general, people who are around us still don't know? And if they knew, that would represent a change in their lives.
Oh. I think that people in general are looking for some kind of hope, faith in something. And people are turning to religion or spiritual ways, and sometimes they're not finding what they're looking for there. It's within us. It's within each one of us that the sacredness is, the gifts are. And so what I try to help people do, or what I do help people to do, is to find that center within themselves. People think of spirituality as something that's outside of us, greater than us. It is. But it's actually the greaterness within ourselves. It's the sacredness in the spirit within us is this silence, is just finding that quick moment to check in with ourselves, our heart and our soul. I think that's one thing that people can take away. And the other part of that is, to get very physical about it, is when you have a gut reaction to something. That is your knowledge. That is knowing something. So if you know that you get a feeling and I got to go to the store right now, and you don't know why, but when you get to the store, you meet somebody that needs your help, or you meet somebody that you haven't seen in so many years. This is your inner sacred knowledge.
You are obviously in continuous contact with people today, right? So you help a lot of people. What would you say when they come to you what would you say they're looking for, Anne?
Mm. Oh, that's interesting, because a lot of people, when they come, they think they're looking for physical healing. They think that their digestive system is what the problem is, or they're anxious or something, or they have PTSD. And what we find is that that's the tip of the iceberg. What they really want is to find a sense of peace, a sense of belonging, a sense of, where do I go? What am I here for? What is my purpose? And why do I have this long-standing illness? When people come, they feel they have an illness, and their illness, they say, started 2 years ago. But when you talk to them, because my appointments are at least an hour, and so we really get to chat, because, as we say in our profession, is the most important thing that they say is when they're opening that door and walking out the door, and they say, "Oh, by the way," it has taken them an hour to be able to open up, to feel safe, to open up to that which is really deep within them, that they, in the current, we talked about, the current medical system. Our patients in the current medical system get about 7 to 10 minutes with a person, whether it's a nurse or a doctor or nurse practitioner. And that's not enough time, in my eyes and the eyes of my colleagues, for a person to really get down to what's going on. I have high blood pressure, I have a pain in my stomach, I have this, but we're not really giving them the time and the essence and the chance to be able to speak on, my husband died 2 years ago, and my life is upside down. My finances are a mess. I don't have, I have to sell my house because I lost this income. So there's some very real things that are not being addressed on a very real level that we can help with.
Wow, that's powerful. So what would you say that being in touch with Native Americans has provided you with? How has that helped you help your, let's say, clients or people that come to you for help?
The Native Americans are very near and dear to my heart. One is that they've helped me to find my path, my way. And I remember some stories when I was very new walking this path. And we talked about the world and respect and honor and creation. And what that meant was, when we go to church, I was brought up Catholic. I love the prayers. I love the songs. I love that ritual. But there was something that I didn't understand. My grandmother took me to church when I was 2, and we sat in the front pew, and I literally played with Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I mean, I was 2, so I had that sight still. Now we go forward several years, and what I've learned from the Native people is that God is all around us, and God is in the tree behind you. God is in the water that you're drinking. God is in that flower. God is in the rock. God is the flower. God is the plant. God is all of this. And I think it's a very sacred way, a very different way to look at the world, because they say God is made in, we're made in God's image, but everything is made in God's image. So whether it's the waves in the ocean, that is God. Whether it's the dog that's walking down the street, well, that is God too. So we learn to respect all parts of God in that way. So that's where my knowledge, my understanding of God and Creator was actually enhanced.
Awesome. Excuse me, we have the microphone touching your. Excuse me again. Sorry. Beautiful. So God is all around us, and that's one of the most important teachings that you've seen from Native Americans. What would you say is that wisdom that they have been able to keep for years and years and years, that still is so valid, and we can still use it in our lives to be healed, to be more healthy from a physical perspective, that you have learned?
Well, I think everybody's a little out of balance at this point. But in some of the ways that, the natives, we talk, is that the way it used to be, because we've all been indoctrinated into this 21st century, is that we eat local, so that we have a communication with the food that we eat. So we can eat this way, and the food will enhance us, and we enhance the food. So we have that circular relationship. I was at a powwow. It's a Native American prayer ceremony where there's an arbor. I don't know if you know about this, but I'll explain it. There's an arbor. It's a circle, and typically there's a fire inside, or sometimes it's outside. And then there are drums and music that play. And so I had studied Qigong when I was in school, and I kept studying and practicing my Qigong, and I was getting it, I was understanding it, I was practicing it, but there's a level at which I wasn't getting. I was invited into the circle at the powwow by this woman one day, and it all came together so beautifully. I was in prayer to come into the circle, and then once my foot hit the ground and with the drum, the Qigong, which is, Qi is energy, and so we're talking about the energy that runs through us and around the world. That's when I understood the Qi Gong, and the drums. So it's a dance that you do in prayer in a circle with drums and a lot of people. And it was just the most amazing awakening for myself to be able to bring the energy of the earth and the energy of spirit or the universe together into my heart and through my body, but also to dance with the drum. The drum is, they say, is the mother, of the earth. And so the drum is the beat of the heart of the mother. And so we're dancing to the heart of Mother Earth's heartbeat. And so walking in that way has brought me so much knowledge that, it's hard to explain some of the ways that I have. It's hard to put into words a lot of what I know. And I think that's the old tradition. I briefly spoke about oral traditions, but at the same point, going back 5,000 years, at the beginning of Qigong, at the beginning of, when we know there's, the native cultures, and they're much older than that. But we didn't have TVs, we didn't have satellites, we didn't have cars. So they would sit around in circle at night and listen to the stars, listen to the universe, listen to the wind in the trees, listen to the footsteps of the animals or the fish in the rivers. This was what they listened to for years. And this is, what not we're missing, but this was how they learned about the world. And this is how I had to step back and relearn these things by not isolating, but going to a proverbial mountain so that I can go within to find that inner knowledge.
Do you think that this kind of ceremonies, as the one that you described so beautifully, would help people if they could attend?
I believe they would. If they, yes, they would help people, because there's such a beautiful spirit about them. It brings you back into a very, how do you say, ancient step. And by walking in the ancient step, you're able to open yourself up to a healing. That's a prayer, that's a healing, but there's also other ways that natives heal. And you may have heard of a sweat lodge.
Mm-hmm.
Sweat lodges, I know there's some connotations that people think sweat lodges are dangerous and harmful. But in the native traditions, and native traditions around the world, it's not just Native Americans but a lot of indigenous societies have some of these ceremonies in their own way. But the sweat lodge is a place, very powerful place for healing as well. And that I've been privileged to be in many of them, and it's one of my favorite places to pray.
Would you mind sharing with our audience, what is a sweat lodge is?
Sweat lodge. Sweat lodge. So I want to preface this by saying that the lodge is, you don't just pick up one day and say, I want to be a sweat lodge keeper or a lodge pourer. There is a very, historically, there's been a way of being able to be given this knowledge. The first step in being able to have a sweat lodge is you do a 4-day fast, no food, no water, and you do that 4 times. So you're doing 16 days fasting.
In a
and
row?
At the end of,
in a row?
No, doesn't have to be in a row. It can be 4 times, or however it works for you. You're working with an elder so that they help to bring you in and out of that. The first day, of course, is the hardest, and sometimes the second day. At the end of those 4 days, you can earn a pipe. So you become a pipe carrier, and you can start saying prayers for the people. Then you go on another 4-day fasts, and that's when you qualify, or you can earn your sweat lodge. And the fasts are typically you're out in nature, and you're communing with Spirit, God, Creator, to find the strength within yourself and to find your fallibles, and also to find your edges and be in the uncomfortableness and be supported by Creator as well, or God. And so then when you have your lodge, it is made of saplings, small trees, and that are given their life for you to do the ceremony, and you make an offering to them. You offer in the way I've learned is tobacco, that you offer the tree or whatever it is that you're asking to harvest. And then you make a lodge, like an igloo, the igloos lodge. And there's a hole in the middle where you put a hole in the middle. And then outside of the lodge, there is a fire. And in the fire, you put what's called grandfathers, which is your rocks. And the grandfathers are what's going to run the ceremony to give us the healing and give us some messages and create the healing in that lodge. And so the rocks are cooked for several hours, and then we enter the lodge. And when we're sitting in In the tradition that I've learned, the door is open on the east side. And when we come into the lodge, we go in a circle, clockwise circle, and then we sit and we're in prayer. And we are fully clothed. And then the rocks are brought in to the circle, into the pit in the middle, and they're blessed and they're honored for coming. We close the door so it's dark inside. It's like the womb. And then we start with the first cycle, which is praying to the east. And then we we say our prayers and we sing songs. The water pourer pours water on and brings in the spirits, honors the spirits. And it's a healing lodge. And then the door opens, more rocks are brought in. And we do this for 4 rounds, for the south, for the east, the south, the west, and the north.
How does that affect someone that does that for the first time? What's going to happen after that person goes through that experience, according to what you have seen, Anne?
Oh, what I have seen is that people are, their spirit is cleansed, they're shiny, they're bright, they're very connected. Some people, their ailments have gone away through the prayers. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual issues all can change in that lodge. And I came out of one not so long ago, and somebody said to me, "You are just glowing." Because it's a spiritual cleansing, but it's also, you're in prayer, so it's a very heartfelt, and you're really communing with God. And it is called the Native American Church.
Native American what? Excuse me?
Church.
Church, okay. Is it easy to find places where these sweat lodge ceremonies are being celebrated?
They're not as public as you might think. There has been in the past some people who have gotten injured in sweat lodges, and over the lodge they put blankets to keep in the heat and keep out the light. But in some places where the people weren't trained as well, they actually put tarps or plastic bags over them, and this is what caused the problems that the people had that died in them. People have died because the plastic bags would off-gas the gases of the plastic into the lodge. Maybe they just didn't know. I have connections around the country. If people are interested in sweat lodges, they can, contact me, and I can maybe find a way for them to be connected with that.
Speaking of that, where can we find you? Where can our audience find you?
Oh, me is at annend.com. That's ANNE. N as in Nancy, D as in David.com.
Wow, so easy.
It is very easy.
Excellent. So I wanted to ask Mirna if we have a few questions for Anne from our audience.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Questions. Thank you, Dr. Anne, for sharing with us your time and your wisdom.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you.
The first question: what do you recommend to treat anxiety?
Did you say anxiety?
Anxiety, yes.
Oh, there are so many things, but my favorites are actually essential oils of like lavender, even wild orange. Tangerine is one of my favorites. But also doing a little bit of meditation, taking a warm bath, and It depends on many aspects. Anxiety can also be a physical ailment, and so you want to check with your doctor and have some tests run. You want to make sure that your digestion is good. You want to make sure that your vitamin levels are also in a normal level, so that if you don't have enough B vitamins, it could cause anxiety and depression as well. Also, fish oils.
Thank you so much, doctor.
You're
Next
welcome.
question. What is the ideal diet according to your knowledge? And it's kind of a follow-up question of the other one.
Many different diets. Whole food diets are probably the best. I like to try and remove sugar, wheat, and dairy from my diet. Sugar is an inflammation. It causes inflammation. It also reduces your immune system ability to function. And then the wheat causes some digestive issues. And what we're finding now in the conventional wheat is that there are a lot of pesticides, and people are coming with digestive issues. And the wheat is causing a problem because of the toxins and the poisons on the wheat, not necessarily the wheat itself at this point. Wheat also causes gas and bloating. It can, and for me personally, it causes mental fogginess, so I can't think as clearly.
And what about dairy? You mentioned dairy. What's going on with dairy according to your experience, Anne?
Dairy. Dairy is, in some cultures, dairy is only to be used by the children. But right now, I don't think that we have a lot of clean, pure dairy products. And I think that the way that the animals are being treated is causing some of our issues. The cows are put in these little places, hooked up to machines. They're not being respected and honored for what they're giving us. They're also injected with, a lot of them are injected with, antibiotics and things like this. So this is all coming through the milk into our bodies as well. Their emotions, their feelings, and also the drugs that are in them.
So if the milk was completely clean, how does our body digest dairy products? If they were completely clean, that no antibiotics, no hormones, no pesticides.
Our body would be better to digest it, but there's a lot of folks that have digestive issues with dairy. Dairy also causes some mucus, and yeah.
Awesome. Go ahead, Mirna. Excuse me.
Yeah, it was actually interesting. The next question: how can we learn to really feel, to apply all the knowledge and truly connect with our soul and with the planet?
Bless you. Patience is your first step. Asking to enter into the learning would be the second step. And what I have found is that the learning and the lessons are not on my time. I have learned that whoever is running the show above us is actually the one that is giving us the teachings. So if you come to somebody like myself, we can help you to help you with physical, mental, emotional, to start getting into the place that you want to be, for the calmness, for the centeredness, and help you to grow in that way. And then we give you some exercises and ways to move and maintain in those ways. Does that help?
Yes. Thank you. And the last question for today. What do you think is the role of women in society these days? Have we lost our femininity? And how can we reconnect with our feminine energy?
Wow, that is a huge question. We have disconnected ourselves. In society, we've had to step up and be equal to, I'm not saying equal to, but we've had to take on a lot of roles that were the men would take on. And being as a lot of folks are single mothers, and they don't have the time to take on to take care of themselves as well as we were able to in the past. And Marin, I think this comes back to a question that we briefly discussed a couple of days ago about women's cycles. And in women are very powerful, and during our moon cycle, our menstrual cycle, women are now trying to say, we don't want these cycles. We want to get rid of this. We don't like it. But what actually has happened is that removes us from who we truly are. It removes us from our power. And those days where you're just want to be alone, you don't want anybody to bother you. This is a sign that's saying to us, if we listen, I need sacred time. I need time for myself right now. I need to listen to my inner guidance. I need to listen to how I'm connected with the earth, and to help me to heal and to help me to be strong enough to be in control of my family. I'm not in control of my family, but to support my family in the ways that they need to be supported. So in taking care of myself. So yes, we have lost a lot of our femininity, not our femininity, but we've lost a lot of our sacredness and our power because we had to give it away for everybody else.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And continue.
Exactly. Thank you. Hey, and before we finish our conversation today, I would like to basically give you the opportunity to just from the bottom of your heart, what would you like to share with our audience today?
I think the most important thing to me to share today is that people have a deep yearning for something greater than what they're finding in their lives. We're so busy. We're running here, we're running there, we're meeting this timeline and that timeline. And I know for myself that I need to come back to a center point, whether that's just 2 minutes to breathe. It's helpful. And that if you have any questions or any desires of your heart, your spirit, your soul, that you can find a teacher, you can find somebody to help you on that journey. There are more and more people out here that are doing the work, making it much more available for you because you have a gift. Everybody is gifted. Everybody has, you may call it a dream, but we all are here for a purpose greater than ourselves. And as we enter into the circle of greatness, we enter into a circle that is bigger than ourselves. And so what we cannot do ourselves, then we can do with the help of many others. Whether that's to bring clean water to to people, whether that's to bring safety in our schools, whether it's to bring safety to the women, and to pray for the men. It's all sacred, and I think we have to honor everybody. So today, I want to thank you, Angel, for inviting me onto your show, and to be able to share the sacredness of life with you and your audience.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Hey, Mirna, I don't see myself here. I don't know if you see me or if you see me, Anne, but I don't see myself here. Can you see me?
You are in still motion.
We stopped seeing you, but no problem. I can take care of it.
Okay, good. Excellent. So, well, you're at least hearing me. So thank you very much. And what a blessing having you today. What a blessing. I mean, I really think that a lot of people are going to be reaching out to you and allowing us to be that conduit today. It's been great. So we appreciate your time and everything that you do for all of us. And again, this is Angel Rebo with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much for being with us today, and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.